Welcome. I'm Todd Kaufman, founder of the Anxiety Release Protocol, and we are back for part 2 of Emotional Freedom Technique. This powerful little modality found within the protocol that can really change your life. Now, we talked in the first session about what it was and how it works. So today, I'm going to actually take you through a tapping session. Now, I really wish I was there with you in the room. We've had some wonderful, almost miraculous results in our classes up at the university when we've done this live time. So I'm just going to ask you to participate with me. We're going to actually attempt to desensitize the anxiety around a fear of flying. But if you don't have a fear of flying, that's okay. I'm going to ask you to participate like you're here with me anyways, because trust me, you're going to get the ancillary benefits of actually lowering your own cortisol and lowering your own adrenaline while you go through this process. So you're welcome to substitute in a phrase that maybe addresses a challenge that you have. Now, keeping in mind intention, repetition, and reward. Our intention today is very clear. We want to minimize the symptoms of anxiety around a very specific issue. Again, fear of flying. So to begin this process and also to be able to really dig into the reward component, we have to know where we begin so that we can know where we end, so we can see the difference and we can reward ourselves for that feeling. So the way we begin, and in this case, we're doing this prophylactically or preventatively because I'm not about to get on a plane. In fact, I'm recording this during the middle of the COVID crisis. No one's getting on a plane right now. However, what we want to do is we want to imagine ourselves about to get on a flight. Now, perhaps you can recall back to the last time you were in the lounge waiting, or just simply conjuring up the thought of going through that security and taking off of your belt and getting patted down, or perhaps standing in the monitor and coming through there and feeling like you finally got through security and feeling fairly anxious and getting your bags repacked and your belt back on and your shoes back on, and you find yourself to hall H3, which is no doubt 6 miles down the corridor, and you sit down, and at this point you're seeing the jets coming and going, and you're feeling very tense and very frightened, because in just a moment you're gonna have to get up and you're gonna have to get in that line of crowded people and get on that pressurized tube that's gonna hurtle you through space at 320 miles per hour at 32,000 feet. And at this point, even I can feel my heart racing a little bit. And so my question now is, in this moment, when you think about getting on that plane, grade your anxiety from 0 to 10. 0 being, I don't even notice it. 10 being flat out panic attack, I'm out of here. So let's presume at this point it's about an 8. So we now have a place to begin, so that when we knock this thing down to a 7, 6, 5, 4, 3 even, we're able to make a comparative analysis and do the reward component of intention, repetition, and reward. So now we structure a setup phrase. Now, there's a lot of information, a lot of steps to this, and I don't want you to be concerned about that at all. Because first of all, there's somewhere around here, there's a PDF for you to download, which will give you a cheat sheet. And of course, this is fully covered in the book, and there's a complete diagram in the book about how all of this works. So just follow along with me now and say what I say and do what I do, and let's have this experience together. You'll get all the detailed information to be able to do it on your own at home through the downloads. All right, so we've now graded at 8. So we now have to create what we call a setup phrase. So the setup phrase is very structured first time out the door, and certainly as you begin to learn how to do tapping. And so it always begins with even though, and it ends with, and I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. So even though I get super anxious about getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Even though I get super anxious about getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. So this is going to be our setup phrase. Now, if you can't keep it short and concise, or you find that hard to remember, just jot it down on a cue card or a sticky or something in front of you while you're seated and doing this. And you can simply just read it aloud from there. Now, whatever your scenario may be, whether it's snakes or it's public speaking, whatever it may be, you can just simply substitute that in. So every time, even though I get anxious thinking about getting on a stage to speak, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. All right, so let's begin. We're going to tap on these meridian points, and although they're very specific points on the body, we solve the problem of being really precise about it by simply using 3 fingers. So we're going to begin on the karate chop point. Now this is that fleshy point on the side of your hand right here. All right, so I just normally do this in my lap. I'm holding my hands up because we're standing up here to be able to show this to you. So let's begin by tapping here and repeat the setup phrase after me. Even though I get super anxious with the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. We're now going to move through the points. Keep tapping, move up to the very top of the head. Now, if you were to float to the ceiling, this is the first point that would touch first. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Tap on the inside of the bone that goes around the eye. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. We move to the outside of the eye. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Moving now to the inside of the eye, close to the tear duct. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Now tapping under the nose, above the lip. If you've got a mustache like me, this could, tickles a little bit. Even though I get super anxious about getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. We now move under the lip, above the chin. Even though I get super anxious about getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Using a flat hand now and making sure we touch the clavicle bone. Even though I get super anxious about getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. From this point, we're going to what we call the bra strap point. And so don't worry, guys, you don't need to be wearing a bra to do this one. It's just the name of the point. So if you just reach around here to your side, where a bra strap would be, should you be wearing one, and just tap here. And again, doesn't matter which side of your body you use. We're bilaterally symmetrical, that's fine. So whatever works for you, even if you need to shift halfway through. Even though I get super anxious about getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Moving to a point about 3 fingers below the wrist. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. From here, we're going to move to the fingers. We are going to use the fleshy part of the finger beside the fingernail here. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. We skip the ring finger, we go to the middle finger. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Index finger. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. And now we're going to tap on the back of the hand, just off to the side a bit underneath the baby finger and ring finger. And as we tap here, we're going to repeat one more time. Even though I get super anxious about the thought of getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. Now comes something called the gamut. So please keep tapping. And what I want you to do is to follow my directions clearly. First of all, keep your head perfectly still. Do you understand? All right, some of you just nodded your head. So keep your head perfectly still. Keep your hand tapping. This is a little bit like tapping your head and rubbing your belly at the same time. So as we tap our head, I want you to tap our hand. I want you to close your eyes really tight. Open your eyes really wide. Look hard down to the left. Look hard down to the right. Roll your eyes in one direction all the way around. Keep tapping. Roll your eyes in the other direction all the way around. Sing the first verse of Happy Birthday to anybody you wish. Happy birthday to you, happy birthday to you, happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. Keep tapping, count from 5 down to 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take your hand, place your palms on your thighs. Take a very deep breath in and exhale very slowly. All right, I'm going to ask you now exactly the same question I asked when we began. When you think about getting on a plane right here and right now, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being I don't even notice it, and 10 being I'm about to have a flat-out panic attack, please give it a number. Now, I'm already feeling a little bit calm. I don't have a personal challenge with getting on planes, except for the food, of course. And I can tell you that for most people, we see a drop from about 2 to 4 points in the first go around. Now, if that's the case, every point represents 10%. So let's say it's been 2 points. That's just 20%, which is pretty amazing. Because you haven't been injected with drugs, you haven't swallowed drugs, you haven't been working with the therapist, you've been taking classes like this online. You're doing this. I mean, this is your power. You're actually able to go inside your head and lower your own cortisol. So we're going to do something to reward ourselves called the butterfly hug. So we're just going to reach around so that we can touch either side of our lats, and we're going to alternatively tap like this. And as we do that, we're just going to make note of the fact that we dropped this thing 20% all on our own. And 20% is like 1/5 of the way to no anxiety. And this is really pretty impressive. And good for you. Like, congratulations. It's an amazing, powerful technique, and you've just mastered 20% in your first go around. Now, assuming you would like to go further, and I suggest that you try and lower your anxiety each time you do this to around 3 or 4, which is a very, very functional and indeed helpful level, we will repeat this process. Now we're going to shift the setup phrase just slightly, and we're going to shift it so that we're talking about having a little bit less. So even though I still experience a little bit of anxiety when I think of getting on a plane, so now at this point, we'll use that setup phrase. Even though I still experience a little bit of anxiety when getting on a plane, I deeply and profoundly love and accept myself. So at this point, you would then do the full round. And now again, you're going to have a cheat sheet, so don't worry about where these points are. You can just follow them on cheat sheet because you do this process with your eyes open. But in short, they start at the top of the head. They go around the eye. They come under the nose, under the mouth, down to the chest, up the arm to the wrist, baby finger, skip the ring, middle, index finger, back of the hand. So it's actually quite a logical progression, so you'll get very used to it very quickly. And what's really important is remember the keys to neuroplasticity: intention, repetition, and reward. So don't forget to grade it going in and grade it going out, so that ever important reward element you can give yourself. Now, each and every time you do this, your brain is building a memory of thinking of this triggering event while actually moving you away from stress and dropping your cortisol. And if you remember in the lesson last, we talked about how the brain doesn't know of a lived experience and a memory. So you're actually training your brain. As far as your brain's concerned, you're getting on that plane, which is why it's giving you these feelings. You're training your brain that when you get on a plane, actually your cortisol goes down. Now, the repetition piece. Do this a lot. Do this tons. The more you do this, the more it's going to embed into your brain the connection between that particular event or thought or whatever it may be and this physiological process of feeling a little bit calmer. Now, I invite you to dig in with this. As I said, you can use it prophylactically, that is preventatively, or you can use it when you're about to step on a stage or you know that you're about to step into something, or if you catch yourself reacting and getting a little revved up in a situation and you want to back yourself out, you can step out of the room for a couple of minutes of doing this. But what you will find, because the brain likes the easy way out, it's going to learn pretty quickly that when you start doing this with the setup phrase, the brain's going to go, oh, I know what we're going to do here. We're going to drop your cortisol levels. So having done this hundreds and probably thousands of times, or maybe tens of thousands of times in my case, this little movement here now immediately shuts down my amygdala. My amygdala goes, oh, okay, we're good, we're shutting this down. We don't need all this cortisol and adrenaline. And because I've done a lot of executive performance or psychotherapeutic coaching, executive coaching here in Toronto, Canada, I can tell you there's a lot of CEOs and senior level management who you will find sitting in their boardroom having a discussion, doing this. It may just look like a twitch, but I've trained dozens of men and women to utilize this to lower their cortisol. So from a business performance tool, in order to stay present and to be able to feel calm while you're negotiating or working in a board meeting, I know for a fact there's a lot of people just underneath the table or even on the table just doing this little maneuver. Because as I have, they've done this tens of thousands of times and their brain automatically knows this means we get to calm down. All right, thank you for joining me for this powerful lesson. Please share it, teach it to kids. We've utilized it in elementary schools and it has really helped learning performance and behavioral challenges in the schools. So don't keep this one for your own. Absolutely share it around and we're going to see you in the next lesson. Thank you very much. My name is Todd Kaufman, founder of the Anxiety Release Protocol. See you shortly.